Hi, I'm Brian Tenier. I'm the editor of AV News and also the producer of these podcasts, which we're recording here at the ISE show 2019. It's the biggest show in the world with 85,000 attendees, and it's an opportunity for me to catch up with some people that I don't see very often, including my guest today, who is Neil Farr, who runs a company called Acquire Digital. And they are the people that produce our awards every year that we do here at ISE. But he does a lot of other things in retail and other key areas. So Neil, explain what it is that your company really does.
One of our clients once told us we're the world's best kept secret. The reason being is we're very, very diverse. But unfortunately, we don't tell people very much about this. We do from small shelf-edge digital signage solutions through to large giant pylon signs on the Las Vegas Strip and anywhere in between. The solutions we have are very innovative. So whereas although we class ourselves as a digital signage provider, a lot of this tends to be interactive solutions as well. So imagine a giant LED screen that reacts to you. So as you walk by it, kind of talks to you or shows something on the screen. We try and think of those sort of environments and try and bring those to what the client requires.
Over the years that we've been doing it, I know that you've developed various proprietary software solutions. Tell us a little bit about those. I know that there was something we used a beta version of last year. I assume that's now finished and we use the full-fledged version today. So.
Indeed, yes. So the solution start again. So for many years, we started the company over 20 years ago. It was our 20th birthday last year. I don't look that old, I know. But the technology has moved on a lot in those years. From the almost pre-internet days, we've found that technology has had to adapt, and as newer allied technologies like faster computers and better quality screens and different types of technology come together, as well as different sources of data, we've had to adapt our technology. So what you were talking about is our latest version of our engine solution, and that's the one that's currently running most of the Premiership Football Club strip side advertising. It's the same colour solution that drives lots of retail spaces, but we try and make it so it enables the creatives to be a lot more creative. It brings data in from different places, and if you can make that to then react to people, you get a lot more response from those people watching the screens and a lot more engagement levels. And then combining that with what we're finding nowadays is people are now beginning to realise there's this thing called big data around. So if we can now measure reactions to people, we can have both a live response and also post presentation of that data that's been captured. So in the imagination, if you consider like a shelf-edge solution that we'd provide, rather than just showing creative on the screen by the side of where a product's being sold, if we can also engage and say, okay, is there a man in front of it, or a woman, or a young person, or an old person, that would be very powerful to somebody that was selling soft drinks, where obviously if it's sugar-related, the millennials don't tend to like that kind of stuff. They tend to be a bit more health-related. So if they can measure the amount of engagement they've got against a piece of creative, and then react to the people actually watching it, then measure that information, the soft drinks manufacturer can identify what works best for them to try and help make a conversion of that sale. And so much more. For instance, if we bring in live data in for weather, if we know that it's raining outside, we can change the pricing to a different pricing structure for umbrellas. Or if there's a high pollen count, we can present that information to somebody who might be deciding whether or not to purchase some antihistamine products. So bringing that live data, now it's available in front of the clients, and then seeing that measurability, that big data is really valuable to those brands and those retailers.
So much of this is driven by sensors rather than actually having to ask the consumer to do something.
Correct. Nobody has any time anymore, so whatever we can do to simplify and speed up people's lives is always best. We do one of the solutions we've just launching at the show this year is our version 4 of the Wayfinder product, and we've found ourselves doing more and more integration with live systems. So LaGuardia Airport in New York, You can now walk up to one of our wayfinders in there and simply scan your boarding pass. It tells you details about your flight, and obviously if your flight is delayed or for whatever reason the gate has changed, for instance, we show that information on the screen. We show you the weather forecast of your destination, so to just remind you whether it's raining or not. But also if it is delayed, it means you can sit there comfortably in the hub and go to a restaurant or a bar and relax there instead of near the gate, just using that live information. Having other data sources such as the queuing time through security, we know it's going to take you 10 minutes to get to your gate, means you know whether you need to run or not. And obviously, bringing that live information in, presenting right in front of you is really beneficial.
And in terms of, do you work with other suppliers on hardware, or is most of this proprietary?
With respect to, we focus very much on the software aspect to it, so connecting to data sources, connecting to different hardware devices, that's what we do best. We're a very modular kind of application, so we can do that quite quickly. But yeah, the idea of working with hardware partners, that's really where we fit in. So we don't do hardware, they don't do software, but collectively we make a really good solution. And whether that's screens, whether that's hardware devices such as kiosks or touch screens and LED screens, or whether that's those sensor devices you mentioned, we're working with Intel on a sensor package for doing a smart city wayfinder at the moment. So the idea is, as well as that single device being used to show information to clients, if we can collect data at each of those locations where the kiosks are, we've now got air monitoring, we've now got UV monitoring, traffic monitoring, reactionary data, all that sort of information at the same point is now beginning to give lots more data points as well. And that live data right in front of where the kiosk is can tell you suggested information such as it's below 3 degrees, watch out, it might be icy underfoot, or it's too sunny, put some sunblock on.
And this you do, I know from the contact we have with the guys that work for you on our project, you do this all over the world. This is not, you're not limited, you're a UK company, but you're not limited to the UK.
We're a little company hidden away in the middle of the UK, a place called Leicester, but yes, we have partners all over the world. Again, to us, people are still people, and the technology can be adapted to those things. So we've got quite a strong representation in the United States, and obviously that's quite a big market for us because they do speak English and we speak English, and it's quite valuable technology we're putting out there. But similarly, we also work in other countries that are non-English speaking, so Greece, Italy, Spain, South America is beginning to be an interesting part for us as well. So yeah, all over the world.
And are you brought in at a fairly early stage in a project like a new MAL, or is a lot of this retrofit?
I would love that to be the case. Unfortunately, it isn't. So if we are brought in towards the start, it's great because we can throw some ideas in there that maybe the architects or the designers haven't considered, but unfortunately it usually ends up as we tend to be one of the last thought out things. I've spoken at events where we've been pushing that quite heavily, because if this becomes an integral part of the solution, then you can consider other, different types of lighting in there to give you local information, or presenting, even the cabling infrastructure within the organisation may be useful. Whereas retroactively adding it, a little bit more hassle, but still we're used to doing that. And you're not just going to knock down a shopping mall or an office or something just to fit this piece of technology in. So we're also adept at retroactively fitting things into existing solutions as well.
Interesting. Would you like to touch on anything else in what you do, or are you happy that that's a fair reflection of
I think one of the biggest things that we do is understand what the client's trying to get over, what they're trying to deliver, and then we're able to understand that, and then understand how we can take our modular technology and put that together for them in such a way that it delights and entertains them. It's usually, over the last 20 years, we've never yet had a situation where we've failed a client, and more importantly, when we deliver something, they usually, they're expecting one thing and they get something much, much more than that. So, delight and entertain, I think.
Certainly from some of the photographs I've seen of your work, it really does look impressive. I'm sure it's fundamental to getting people into a new MAL or something some other development, it's an important step in marketing the whole project.
It is, and obviously everybody still talks about the return on the investment of these solutions, and if you have any part of technology out there, if we can try and reduce down that cost to market, or we can increase the revenue stream availability, it's always beneficial. And one of the strongest things that people are talking about at the moment is smart cities, because over the many years people realise these concrete monstrosities which have become the city nowadays. People are putting things like cycle routes in, and grassy areas, and living walls and the such like, and they're just beginning to introduce the technology into those as well. And smart cities, unfortunately, a lot of people are like with digital signage, throwing a screen on the wall, playing some videos on, and assuming they've just done digital signage and hey, tick the box. And smart cities are beginning to go the same way. It's the in thing to do at the moment. We try and do it different.
Dependent upon certain other enabling technologies. I'm thinking 5G in particular.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can't really do smart city now, but
well, it's beginning to get there. As the whole idea is to have a plan for the next 5 to 10 years, for instance. And if we know at the moment there is data coming in from the local transport, the emergency messaging systems, for instance. I was in New York about 2 weeks ago, and everybody's cell phone all started beeping at the same time. I was quite surprised, but they have a emergency alert system out there called FEMA. Government run, which they'd released what's called an Amber Alert for a missing child, and everybody's cell phone all went off at the same time, and it's a great way of doing it. So it's possible to do these things. A lot of the time it requires the infrastructure to be in place, or at least a plan to put it into place. And if you can plan for it, it means that even if at the moment you're running on 4G in your example, but there's planning to make it so it can run on 5G and in advance as well. If we've got this bit of data coming in with live information about missing children, hey, this is all beneficial, and we can plan for it really easily.
So there's still plenty of mileage in AV and its various ramifications, and this future is still pretty exciting.
Oh, definitely. There's been a movement to people saying let's move the technology to people's smartphones because everyone's got them with them. It's a great idea, but actually there's still a reason to have AV everywhere.
Thanks very much indeed.
No problem. Thank you.